Hello, my dearest students. Welcome to the final revision of all the poems in the ICSE Class 10 syllabus. Make sure you watch this video until the end because I believe by the end of this video, you're going to be thorough with all the poems. So the first one is The Glove and the Lions, which is written by Leigh Hunt. Okay, so the main characters are first is King Francis, and there are also nobles and ladies present. In the nobles, the one mentioned is Count de Lorge, and in the ladies, a beauteous, lively dame. So, what is the description of King Francis? King Francis is described as a hearty king who loves royal sport. Going to the description of the lover of the count, who is the lively dame. So she is a beauteous, lively dame. She has smiling lips and sharp, bright eyes, which is constantly sparkling and alluring. So that is the description that is given in the poem of the lover. Now let's go to the description of the count. The count is deeply in love for his lover, and he sighed and longed for his lover. He is brave as brave can be, and he has extraordinary deftness and agility. Also, he is described as someone who would do wondrous things to showcase his love. The next is the description of the lions fighting. So how are they described? First is they ramped and they roared. Next, they were fighting fiercely and ferociously, which looked like horrid laughing jaws. Next is they bit, then they glared, and they gave blows like beams. And if you remember, wind went through their paws. Fourth is they had wallowing might, and their roar was stifled because they rolled on one another. And when they rolled on one another, what happened? The sand and their mane was tangled in a thunderous smother. So this is the description of the lion fighting. Now there is so much happening. So I have made an abbreviation. Get ready with me first. So this is how I remember. First is they glared, gave blows like beams. So that is here to remember that. Here is they ramped and they roared. Here is they had wallowing might and stifled roll and they rolled over one another. Here is the mane and the sand was tangled. And here is they fought fiercely and ferociously. So I make sure that I don't miss a single point by making things to remember like this. Okay, let's move forward. It was a gallant spectacle of what? Valor and love. So valor is shown by the lions and love is shown by the count. When the bloody foam whisked through the air and came over the barricades, what did King Francis say? We are better here, seated above than down below. And why did the dame drop her glove? Because she believed that the count is brave and would do anything to prove his love. And the depth of devotion and admiration for his lover. So because he had the depth of devotion and admiration, and also she wanted great glory to be hers. This is the reason why she dropped her glove. What did the count do? First, he bowed gracefully and unhesitantly. In a moment, he leapt into the place where the lions were, and he was very agile because he quickly returned. But what did he do? He threw the glove at her face, not tenderly but violently. And what did he say? It is not love but vanity that sets a task like this, especially when life is at stake. So what is the theme of the poem? True love is never tested, that too through superficial and dangerous means. And the power was misused by the lady. Vanity and pride and not true love that made the lady test her love. She yearned for attention and wanted self-importance. So if you remember, she said, after this, great glory will be mine. So it was vanity, pride, and a yearning for attention which made her do this, and not true love. That's the end of the Glover and the Lions. Now let's quickly move to the next poem, which is When Great Trees Fall, which is written by Maya Angelou. So this I have added illustrations so that in the exam you can remember these illustrations and recall. So when great trees fall, rocks on distant hills, what do happen? They shudder. And powerful animals like lion, what happens to them? They hide in tall grasses. Large and mighty animals like elephants, they lumber after safety. And the small creatures, they recoil into silence. And their senses are eroded beyond fear. And what happens when great souls die? The air around becomes light, rare, and sterile. So the air is no longer rich or vibrant, and it is drained of spirit. The breathing, it becomes, they breathe briefly and it is labored breathing. So they breathe with difficulty. The eyes, they see with hurtful clarity. And what happens to the memory? The memory is sharpened and they get reminded of the agonizing nostalgia of what? Kind words that were unsaid and promised walks not taken. So the promises that were not kept, they get reminded of all of this. So here if you see, there is remorse and repentance. And these memories, they gnaw on them. Gnaw on them means distress them. Okay, moving to what happens to our reality. Our reality, which is bound to them, it leaves us. Our souls, that is dependent on their nurture, becomes drained and wizened. Wizened means becomes shriveled up or shrinks. Our minds, which is formed and informed by their radiance, it falls away. So this is what happens to our reality, our souls, and our mind. And what happens? We are not so maddened as reduced to a feeling of being trapped in cold, dark caves. So that is what happened to us when great souls die. So after a period of time, what happens? Peace blooms. So it is not very fast. It is slowly and irregularly or non-linearly. And the empty spaces that were in us is filled with soothing electric vibrations. And our senses are restored, but it is never like what it was before. And our senses, they remind us that they existed and we can be better. So even after the great souls depart, they still remind us and motivate us and give us hope and optimism. So what is the theme of the poem? The poem shows the impact of the loss of a loved one, the grief it causes, which is followed by acceptance and finally healing. The profound impact a person has on people, not only when they were alive, but also after their passing. So people, not only when they are alive, have a deep impact, but also after their death. And the memories and legacies, they give us hope and optimism to lead meaningful and purposeful lives. And it makes us feel that it is better to have at least known them. So this is the theme of When Great Trees Fall. Now moving quickly to the next poem, A Considerable Speck, which is written by Robert Frost. So the poet notices the dust mite. So how did he notice it? because there was a stark contrast between the white paper and the dust mite. And when the narrator had idly poised the pen in air, then to stop with a punctuation, he realized that it is not a dust blown by his breathing, but it is a dust mite with a mind of its own. So these are the actions of the dust mite. First is it paused with suspicion of the poet's pen. So first is paused with suspicion. Next is it raised widely on the manuscript where the pen's ink was still damp. Then it paused again and either drank or smelt the ink. Then it retreated with loathing and again turned to fly. Then it expresses how much it did not want to die because it ran with terror and also in a very cunning way. However, it faltered, then it hesitated, and in the open sheet it surrendered to accept whatever fate the poet would bestow upon him. So these are the actions of the dust mite. If you want once, you can pause the video and go through this once again. Then, why didn't the poet kill the dust mite? Because the poet does not have the tenderer than thou type of nature, which is very sentimental and excessive gentle nature. Neither does the poet have a very collectivistic regimental love, which is a totalitarian love of controlling everything. So he says, I'm neither this extreme nor that extreme. Also, the narrator pitied the insect, and as the insect meant no harm to him, he did not want to harm it. Also, he was glad that he discovered the smallest exhibit of mind on any written sheet of paper, and that is why the poet did not kill it. So, what is the theme of the poem? We should show empathy to all life forms, no matter how small or insignificant they might be. Second is finding significance even in insignificant things that we would normally not pay attention to. So it is about recognizing their intelligence and imagination. Also, the world is moving towards a very collectivistic regimental love, which is very controlling. So an individual has to give importance to his thoughts and perspectives, and that should be respected. So we have quickly completed a considerable spec. Now moving to The Power of Music, which is written by Sukumar Ray. So Bhishma Lochan Sharma, when does he sing? He sings when summer comes, and his singing can be heard from hills and plains from Delhi to Burma. And how does he sing? He sings as if he has staked his life, and he sings as if he's hell-bent. Hell-bent is obsessed. Okay. And how does his singing affect the people? First is they are left dazed and they retire amazed. Next is they are trampled in the panic rout. Rout means chaos. So they are trampled. People trample and walk over one another because there is a chaos when they listen to his singing. Also, they become languished, means they lose strength and they become pale and sickly. So physically also they are affected. And what do? They plead desperately to Bhishma Lochan Sharma that they are near their end, they are going to die. They beg him to stop and also they grumble. Now let's see what happens to the animals, how they are affected. So bullock carts are overturned. The horses, they line to the side of the road, they no longer move. The wretched animals, they show their resentment or they show their displeasure. How? They whine, they cry and stare with feet in the air. And they wonder, quite confused and confounded. The fish, what happens? They dive deep into the lake for silence. And the birds, they fly upside down in the sky. So this is how the animals are affected. Next, what happens? The trees, they collapse and they shake, and the crash can be heard from a mile away. What happens? The welkins weep. Welkins means the sky. They cry, and mighty mansions, they tumble down. Then the people again plead and grumble that they are going to die. But what happens? Bhishma, he soared beyond their reach and he continues his singing. So he doesn't pay heed to their begging. But who comes to their rescue? A billy goat, who's a very sagacious goat who has a very wise judgment. What does he do? He downs his horse and charges straight at Bhishma. And he bellows at Bhishma, and Bhishma singing is just like bellowing of the goat. So that is why it is written bellow answering bellow, and the songs are tossed and whirled. And finally, the world is granted the golden gift of silence. So let's quickly move to the theme of the poem. The first is how music can have a profound impact not only in the lives of people but also how we can influence nature and animals. Therefore, music has the power not only to be soothing but sometimes it can also be disruptive and can cause chaos. The second is the poem also emphasizes how silence is also a requisite to maintaining peace and tranquility. That is how it's said, silence is golden. And the theme also explains that courage and action is required to instill peace, because until the billy goat retaliated, even if the people were suffering so much, no one took an initiative. So that is the end of The Power of Music. Now moving to the last poem, The Haunted House, which is written by H.W. Longfellow. Okay, so these harmless phantoms, where are they found? They are found in all houses where men have lived and died. So how do they enter? They enter through open doors and they glide in order to do their errands or work, and they make no sound upon their feet. So this shows that memories and past interactions form an integral part of their life and they leave meaningful imprints in our lives. That is, the memories of people who have died, they continue to impact us. We meet them on the doorways, on the stairs, and along the passages, and they leave subtle impressions on us. So they don't make their presence felt so apparently. So on the dining table, there are more guests than who are invited. And in the illuminated hall, it is thronged with quiet and inoffensive ghosts who are as silent as the pictures on the wall. The strangers cannot see or hear what the poet sees and hears, and the strangers can only perceive what is clear or what is apparent. So this shows that we are filled with countless past interactions of people who no longer live, and they leave a lasting impact that only we are aware of and other people cannot perceive it. Also, we have no title deeds to house or to land. Why? Because the past owners, they stretch their dusty hands from the graves and hold on to the property. So this means that people from the past, they continue to impact our choices and perceptions. So here it says that material possessions are temporary, they have a fleeting nature, but spiritual legacies are permanent. So even if they have passed away, they continue to impact our choices and perceptions. Also, we are enveloped by the spirit world and it is present everywhere, and they give us a vital breath of ethereal air. So here the poet wants to say that our physical world coexists with the spiritual world and we are enveloped by it. And the spiritual presence, they breathe life into our daily experiences and enrich our lives. Also, our lives are kept in balance. One is our earthly desires, and next is our noble aspirations to do something great. So, our lives are kept in equipoise of our earthly or materialistic desires and our noble aspirations. And how are we guided? We are guided by an unseen force or a hidden influence or an unacknowledged influence. So we are guided by an unseen force and our life is kept in balance. So here the poet says that a bridge is formed by the moonlight, which is over the sea, and our thoughts travel through this bridge into a realm of mystery and darkness. And this mystery and darkness could represent the spiritual world. So, this bridge of light is like a connection between the physical world and the spiritual world. So this bridge, it sways and bends, which could mean that our understanding of the spiritual realm is not strong. And there is uncertainty and instability in our understanding of the spiritual world. So our thoughts wandering into the realm of mystery and darkness suggest that we are attempting to understand the connection between our physical world and the spiritual world. I hope that was clear. Now let's move to the theme of the poem. So here the poem says that materialistic items are transient, but spiritual worlds are permanent. So even if our loved ones are gone from this physical plane, their memories and thoughts live with us and they guide us. So the past, present, and future are intertwined and they coexist and influence each other. So the world of spirits are unknown to us, but somehow they influence our lives unbeknown to us. So we don't know, but still we are influenced by the world of spirits. And that is the end of all the poems. I hope you found this video useful. Please share it among your friends. It's the 9th hour and the exams are just in the corner. I'm praying for each one of you and God bless you. You are definitely going to get really great marks in your examination. Keep smiling, keep faith, pray to God. All the very best.